What's up, guys? I am Cory from Gun Gamers, and we are back. And
yeah, hi, I'm Eric. Figured we'd have Cory start, get a change of pace here.
Hell yeah! So today we're going to be talking about stock guns, and what I mean by that is a gun that you pull out of the box that you're comfortable with just taking it out and playing, which is sort of a rare thing these days.
Well, I mean, it is and it isn't. What everyone posts about and talks about, like what everyone's like real excited about usually, is something that they've built up, something they've customized, and all that.
Yeah.
But I think both of us are kind of the opinion that like keeping things stock, keeping things basic, is pretty underrated.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
It's definitely it's one of those things where a lot of people will say, "Yeah, I took this gun out of the box and immediately I opened it up and I did all these things," and now, this is like not to shit on anybody who likes building their own guns and likes building their own stuff, but a lot of people I know who tech their own guns and do a lot of their own builds are constantly repairing them. Myself included, not because I'm an amazing tech, but
sorry.
No, you continue.
So one of the big reasons we're talking about this is both Eric and I have had sort of a hard year with airsoft guns. Let's tell a story. So basically, I got an LCT PP1901, which is an awesome, really cool looking gun and sort of unique and sort of rare. But the problem with that gun is stock. It was shooting over 400 with twos, and that's just not going to fly around here, literally. So we ended up trying to take it apart and drop a new spring and bucking into it. And we had a pain in the ass getting it apart. We didn't do our homework, and we ended up breaking the trunnion on the receiver. Yeah,
that was entirely our fault.
Yeah, it really sucked. So I contacted pretty much every major distributor. I contacted Evike, Amped Airsoft, US, ASGI, and even LCT themselves, and no one had a replacement receiver for this part, which is unlike LCT because they
have receivers for like everything. I think the PP19 is just weird.
Yeah, it's just a slightly shorter AK-74U, AK-74
with a different magwell.
So yeah, I was like kind of shit out of luck, and then Eric and Garrett actually ran into sort of a display PP19 that one of the companies had, and they were selling it for $80. So we jumped on that opportunity. We got it.
Yep.
But we still had the problem with that gun shooting hot. So I had our buddy Nathan from DRZ Productions. Big shout out to that guy because he's great. He took it apart very carefully and very frustratingly, and got it to where it was, and also dropped a V3 Advanced Gate Tighten into it. So we get the gun back. It's fucking great gun. But the biggest flaw with the PP19 is magazine availability. So pretty much if you get a PP19, or if you own one, you probably know this already, finding magazines for it are a bitch. And the magazines that the gun has are not that great. And it's more so the magwell has really loose tolerances. So getting the magazine to seat in the AEG itself is a pain in the ass. And with that knowledge in mind, I decided, you know what, I'm going to sell this $600 paperweight that I have and buy something that was a little more stock. So I bought this G&P M4 carbine. And
the old gen G&P, not the i5.
Yeah, this is the old gen. So super cheap, got it on sale. Yeah. It shoots pretty low, and it has like 100 feet worth of range. So it is a stock gun, but it is going to get some very basic things. It'll get a new hop-up unit and bucking and a motor when it eventually dies. But this gun it's built great out of the box. And sort of a tangent on that, another thing that I want to complain about, because I'm really good at complaining, is the fact that finding a basic pattern M4 or M16 A4 these days is next to impossible. A lot of stock guns that are coming out are really crazy looking AR variants and AK variants. We're starting to see more unique AK variants, which is actually a good thing in my opinion. But if you want to find something that you're building for an impression, spoiler alert, it's sort of hard. And I know there's a lot of impression groups out there that are using early 2000s and mid 2000s era military platforms.
So back to the topic. But anyway, the reason this comes up, so you just made an example of like Okay, well, this stock gun maybe isn't like totally grab and go out of the box.
No.
But what you're not going to be doing is opening up the gearbox.
Yeah, that's not going to be a problem.
So I'm going to make an important distinction here. I still consider a gun to be pretty stock if you haven't opened the gearbox.
Yep.
Because when you do like a hop-up bucking replacement or like a motor swap even, that's very surface level stuff. You don't need to be a tech to do that. You just need to be like, okay, what's a good motor? What's a good hop-up? Can I do it halfway competently? It's really, really simple. To me, that's almost more basic maintenance than actually upgrading.
Pretty much. Like, I can do that, and I suck at teching.
Yeah.
It's easy.
But once you open up the gearbox, there's some old jokes about like letting the fairies out. Yeah. And that's really what it is. Some of these gearboxes, I made a joke in like the first Tactical Wizard video about how you need a master's degree in Chinese engineering to really understand these things. And now that's definitely a bit of hyperbole for comedic purposes, but it can be intimidating opening up a gearbox.
For sure.
And what a lot of people get in their heads is that they need to upgrade their guns. They need to do new gears, new piston, all this new stuff. They need to open it up and really do all this stuff. You don't always have to do that. And like that's part of why we'll rag on guns in reviews when they come shooting hot and whatnot, especially if you have to really open the gearbox to fix that.
Yeah.
Because most people, I'm going to make an important note here. A lot of people watching this video are probably more experienced at playing Airsoft. You probably have a bad sample size when you think of the people you know who open up their guns. The vast majority of the Airsoft market, I would say, has no real inclination or experience with teching a gearbox. And I just think that's because of the nature of, the game has a high turnover rate, a lot of people are newer, and a lot of people will open up these guns, try to mess with them, try to make them work, they'll break, and then they'll just have a brick because then they don't know how to fix it, and they bring it to a real tech or someone who's like really experienced, and they'll give them a box of parts and say, here, make this work. And that ends up causing more problems than if they had just bought a gun that was good out of the box, or a gun that needed like a couple very basic things that they didn't have to open up the gearbox for. If they just bought that gun and used that gun, use it until it breaks, get some experience under your belt, and then either have a tech fix it with like some basic parts and nothing too crazy or high stress, or at that point, once you've got more experience under your belt, once you've done more research, really take your time and learn how to repair and upgrade your stuff yourself. But even then, not everything needs to be an upgrade.
Yeah.
Like I've rebuilt my Crytac for the last couple of years with OEM parts because those I know are going to fit the specs and tolerances of the Crytek gearbox, and I know that I can use those parts and I'll get the same performance it had before, whatever I'm replacing that wore out, whether it be the air nozzle or the piston head O-ring. Well, piston head O-ring is a bad example. You can get a million of those. But you're still trying to use generally the same type of parts.
Yeah.
Now I do have a gate tighten in my Crytac, but like that's just because that's sexy.
Yeah. That's just real sexy.
But even then, I do think there's a serious law of diminishing returns when it comes to upgrading airsoft guns.
Yeah.
I think if you take like a stock VFC, stock Crytac, stock GMP, a lot of these types of higher end, nicer, newer, modern airsoft guns, if you take those and compare their capability on the field with the capability on the field of like an Umbrella, the Umbrellas are nice guns. No one's about to tell you that they're not. But relatively speaking, the capability you're gaining for the fact that that gun's going to cost you $1,200 plus is not such a wide gap that necessarily most players are even going to notice that it's $900 worth of difference.
Yeah.
So I think what you really run into is the fact that a good player can make just as effective use as a good player can make just as effective use of most stock guns that good player can make of most upgraded guns. Now, the upgraded gun will have some quality of life features. The upgraded gun might be able to do certain things better. But if the skill level and the understanding of your equipment is there, you're not going to be at a serious disadvantage with a decent stock gun.
Yeah.
I mean, most people at Milsim West are running mostly stock AKs on the Russian team.
Yeah, for sure.
And a lot of the Grom dudes, for example, will run like the 416A5 and do like a couple of very basic quality of life things to make sure that they run reliably. But the guns mostly are stock in a lot of these cases.
Yeah, and like if you're the type of person that plays mostly like indoor, like we all know Tactical Snoopy, Inept Tactics, that guy has used a stock gun for so long. Like his gun does not have many upgrades in it.
No, well, and that's especially true because I think indoor. I think indoor you really don't notice a lot of what you get with upgrades.
Yeah.
As long as you have like a decent trigger response, you're fine.
Like this gun would be fantastic in indoor right now.
Yeah.
But I mostly play outdoors, so I need a little bit more range, a little bit more accuracy and consistency.
Yeah, but that's easy to achieve with like a bucking swap for $8.
I mean, I have a gun that I spent, I don't know, I think I spent $200 on this thing. Mm-hmm. And I'll put maybe another $35 into it, and it'll be up to par with all the Crytacs I've owned. And that's another thing I wanted to talk about is like, what stock guns can you buy that are great, that are excellent out there? Well, pretty much anything from SEMA on the AK side. I've heard mixed reviews about their M4s.
But their AKs are very good.
But their AKs are very, very, very good. And a good friend of mine just bought a newer SEMA AK, and it actually shot under 400 with twos.
Yeah,
which
finally,
is great.
right?
So maybe that's a sign. Hopefully it's not a fluke, but maybe it's a sign that they're finally trying to make their guns.
Yeah.
But it shot like 396 with twos, so it was like right under. So maybe we're wrong. Maybe we're just being hopeful. But then you have G&P. G&P...
not their i5. Their i5 has a lot of electrical problems, unfortunately.
Yeah, but like their older gen G&Ps are great. And they're great because they make a lot of guns that a lot of other people don't.
Yeah.
Like
I do have a bone to pick with their Mark 46, but that's going to be its own video.
That is.
I have several bones to pick with their Mark 46, matter of fact. But again, that will be its own video.
That's going to be a good one.
Mm-hmm.
But like G&P makes an M4 CQBR, not a Mark 18. Well, I guess you could say.
Well, it's an old school Mark 18.
Like not a lot of companies make that anymore. Everything's all about Geisley rails and M-Lock and all that bullshit. But they make a lot of guns that are good for impressions and good for people who are just taking it out. And they're relatively cheap these days because a lot of newer guns are super expensive. And then you have G&G. And G&G isn't the best, but I mean...
I think their non-ETU stuff was better than their ETU.
Yeah, like the CM16, the Raider, like all their combat machines... Those are pretty great.
A lot of people are talking about Specna these days for guns that you can really beat on. I have no personal experience with Specna, so I can't really comment, but I know a lot of people are mentioning them, so I figured I would throw them in here.
Yeah.
Another one, like, I know people will get mad, Crytac, I don't care. Crytacs make great. Crytacs make great grab-and-go guns. You don't really have to mess with them. Are they, like, theoretically the best thing that every tech is going to cream their pants over? Maybe not.
Yeah.
But do they shoot really goddamn well out of the box, and are they generally very reliable for the players who buy them? Based on everything I've seen, yes. VFC is also very good at their guns. There's a lot of different brands out there that are very good. The problem that you run into in a lot of these, though, and there's another video that I'm going to make that is a whiny one, is a lot of companies treat airsoft guns like they're making toys. Yeah. And I get that because these are toy guns. But then you try to take it out and put it to like real use in like serious gaming, and you realize that it's too much like a toy. And a lot of the quality control for some of them can be really bad.
Yeah.
So
like even Sima, our golden boy, is a little bit.
Can definitely have some quality control foibles.
But the new stamped steel Simas that are coming out that are still super affordable. You can get like a stamped steel AK-74U with like a battery and a charger for like $180 on
Yeah, the
eBay.
Battery and charger are fucking terrible though.
Oh yeah, but still that's a stock gun that you can beat the piss out of
and take out to whatever game you want. I mean, I've used a stock Sima at tons of games, and it still shoots great. It has plenty of range for the BBs I'm using. It's got decent trigger response on a good battery. I mean, I have an ASG motor in mine now because eventually I was like, all right, well, I want to up this a little bit. But other than that, I've left it alone. And that's what it is. The more you leave these guns alone sometimes the better they run. Because I mentioned experience earlier. A lot of people who are taking their guns apart are doing it for the first time or haven't done it much. or they'll think they know a lot about teching. I'm speaking from experience here. They'll think they know a lot about teching. They'll think they know a lot about how to build guns. But they'll realize that there's a lot of variables that they still don't fully understand. And they'll only realize there's a lot of variables they still don't fully understand when they put the gun back together in a way they think is perfect, and it still doesn't work correctly.
Yep.
So then that leads to frustration, that leads to problems.
That leads to people wanting to quit like twice a year.
Yeah. And that'll lead to people who want to try to do all this stuff and want to try to build these crazy guns, but they'll cause more problems than they solve when the gun as they got it was fine.
Yeah.
And now I'm a big fan of, even if you want to really get into building a lot of guns and doing a lot of serious tech work, I'm a big fan of buying a good backup gun that you don't fuck with.
Yeah.
Big fan of buying just a good backup gun, putting that aside, not messing with it, not opening the gearbox as much as possible, and just saying, okay, this is my backup for if shit breaks. Now, there are some guns you can't do that with. Pretty much any saw on the market is gonna fucking break at some point and has some type of fucking problem.
Yeah.
But then you, like I said, we mentioned all these other guns that you can buy and not really fuck with, and they'll be fine. So I think that's the thing. I do think you lose some reliability the second you start introducing more variables with yourself. No one likes to be told that they're the lowest common denominator of the variables that are causing their problem. But sometimes you are. I know I am.
Yeah, definitely me too. Like, I had, we're going to talk about Crytek again for a second. I had a Crytek CRB that ran stock for like 2 or 3 years straight. And then finally, when I got rid of it, someone else had it, and they're like, this doesn't shoot good enough. And they open it up. It's Joe. Joe's great. I love him. Open it up, and the internals were pretty shot. So we replaced the internals, and the gun was great, and then the body broke. But, I mean, that gun still lasted like 4 or 5 years. It lasted forever. And that's great. That's like what you want out of an airsoft gun. And then I got a Crytek.
And you can get the body and just replace the body and fix it. Which is
good on you, Crytek.
Another point of like making tools versus toys.
Yeah.
Have replacement parts for every proprietary thing in your gun. Because like if you make a gun and you can't easily get replacement parts for it, you've made a ticking time bomb. Something's going to break. All of these guns break.
Yep. And
if you don't build it correctly, you don't build it well, and then you don't offer replacement parts, you might as well have not built it.
Yeah. And then I got a Crytek Mark II SPR, which was fantastic as an AEG. Great. Stock barrel, stock fucking bucking. I think we ended up replacing it just because we could. Great, great, great gun. And then I was just like, I want to do HPA. And I HPA'd it. Nothing but problems thus far. Those problems are working out and getting solved. But I basically took a perfectly good, expensive stock AEG and made it an even more expensive HPA rifle that works way less than what the AEG did.
Yeah.
And that just goes to show you, like, even if you have great techs around doing work for you, like we have plenty of experienced techs in this group, and they all built the gun for me, basically. And now I have a $1,200 fucking paperweight.
Well, because the reason you have a paperweight is because here's another thing. Quality control is a variable that we just mentioned.
Yeah.
The gun itself has its own level of like quality control that is a variable. Anything you put in the gun all individually carries with it another level of quality control variable. So let's say you have an airsoft gun that you bought. Now let's say you put a MOSFET, a motor, a gear set, a hop-up unit, and an inner barrel in it. That's one factor of quality control variability, now having 5 other factors of quality control variability added into it, and they're all interplaying with each other. Whether the tolerances work together, whether the parts all work together, whether the parts are all made correctly, whether the parts are meant to go with those other different parts, whether the parts are meant to go in that gun, meant to go in that gearbox, whether the specs for that gun match those parts, all that shit all becomes a perfect storm that if you really take your time and really pick the right parts and really do your research and know what you're doing and know what to look for and know how to check things, you can assemble it well. Now, that's not to discourage anyone from getting into tech work, and I know a lot of techs are probably going to say I'm overcomplicating this, but I think it's more a testament to the skill of good techs when they realize that they're doing all of that passively without thinking of it. They're looking at, okay, are these gear axles straight? Is the shimming going to be good when I put this in? Do these gears fit properly to begin with? Are the number of teeth on the gear set matching the piston that I'm using or the piston that came in the gun? Sometimes they don't. Some guns come short-stroked or different things. So all of that type of stuff is all factors to consider, along with the human factor of the person installing all that shit. So all of that becomes different variables that can interplay with each other, and you can brick a gun that was perfectly good. If you do one thing wrong, or if anyone who built the parts that you're putting in did one thing wrong. All that shit can make or break a build.
Yep. And it makes you miss the old days when stock guns, if you had a stock gun that worked well, you used it and that was the gun you had. And like 10 years ago, stock guns, you had to do a lot of stuff. And I feel like a lot of upgrading guns is nostalgia, because 10 years ago people would get TMs and they would fix them up, or they would get something like a CYMA back in the day. CYMAs weren't that good. They would do all these upgrades to it to make it shootable, to make it good. And now we get like stock Crytacs and GNPs, and we're like, I got to do all this shit to it because I did it 10 years ago to my other stuff, and it was great. But I think that
we haven't mentioned ICS yet. I know people are going to get mad if we don't mention ICS being a good gun brand. They're very good, by the way.
They are, and they're really unique and they're really cool. Split gearbox is great. The ICX Mars is like fucking.
And ICS, I think, are another example of a gun that you could really get and not really fuck with.
Oh yeah,
but
I would get one of those.
They also do a good job of being easy to fuck with because of the split gearbox. So, good job, ICS.
And also, like the VFC Avalon series, they deserve plenty of credit. That's a gun that I still want to get.
Yeah, especially their MP5.
Yeah, their MP5. So pretty. But, I'm getting a Echo 1 MP5 pretty soon here, and there's not a lot of proprietary parts for that right now, so that gun's going to stay stock.
Yep.
And it's going to be great, because it shoots great stock. Thanks again, Joe.
Yeah. So
those are my thoughts.
Yeah, those are about my thoughts. I think we've pretty much laid everything out here.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
Well, once again, I've been Eric.
And I'm Cory.
And let us know your thoughts in the comments. Are you the type of person who likes to rip everything open? Are you any good at it? Don't worry, we won't harass you if you really like to open your stuff. This is just
make
kind
fun of me for being bad at teching.
You can make fun of me too. I mean, I make fun of myself more than anybody. So there's nothing you can say to me that makes me hurt my feelings. But so anyway, thanks for watching. This has been another video from Gun Gamers, and we'll catch you later. Peace.
I'm 19 years old, and I just bought a Ford Raptor with 28% interest rate. I'm in the Army. I'm an 11 bang bang, and you know what? I can take on the whole world.
You're a cat. You don't get to make those jokes.
You're right, but like 11 Bravos are worse than 19 Deltas. Fucking put this in the video. So I did say spoiler alert. If you are in the Army, you probably are like, wow, that's like a very basic old, Army style rifle. Well, that's because Gun Gamers is finally doing an official Milsim West impression group. Me, Eric, and Ian Leary, and our buddy Adrian.
Plus Garrett's doing it, isn't he?
And Garrett.
Yeah.
We are starting up a 2012 to 2014 10th Mountain impression group. And feel free to find us on Facebook. We're called Task Force Keg, or TF Keg. And then it's just a general interest group. And you can find us. We decided to do a 10th Mountain impression group because on the U.S. side, or the NATO side at Milsim West, there's really a lack of basic infantry loadouts there. Everyone wants to be some special SEAL or Delta or crazy KSK or Grom, which nothing against Grom. I fucking love those guys.
But there's not a whole lot of representation of most of the people who would be fighting in this theoretical conflict that Milsim West represents.
Yeah. So it's a unique impression group, and we're really trying to be super nice people. and just like accepting to anybody. And we have people interested from Russians. We've got people interested from the Beans, which are a Russian infantry impression group, and love those guys because they're super standardized, and that's what we're trying to do. But the kit's relatively cheap. You probably have a basic M4 laying around, and you probably have an M9, or you might have an M24 or M40. So, like, really cool stuff, and, we're very excited about that. Sort of off topic, but...
I'll probably put that in at the end.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you for watching this video from Gun Gamers. We hope you enjoyed watching it as much as we enjoyed making it. Check the description below if you'd like to buy a t-shirt or a patch, and use the coupon code JUDY10 for 10% off of your next order at Amped Airsoft. Thank you again for watching, and praise Judy.